Hello, this is IGN Podcast. This is number 307. I am Gav Murphy. You are Mr. Daniel Krupa. You are Mr. Rory Powers.
I am, yeah.
Yes.
How you doing?
Those are all very factual statements.
Exactly.
It's
Very
full
factual
stop.
at the beginning of this
We might as well
podcast.
start with
Eventually
factual
break
stuff.
down into
We should
madness.
say we're recording a lot of podcasts at the minute, so it's quite hard to keep track of which number we're on.
Is it?
I will
For
be.
some,
It's for me.
I can count though, so it's not too hard.
There we go. All right. Dale, can you turn the back thing down for me? Because I can hear it and it's getting on my nerves. This is going in.
I actually like to hear myself
I hate it.
echoing in my head.
So this week we've
yeah.
got... What have we got? That's coming out.
Loads of good stuff.
Big film, Bridge of Spies. We went to see it.
Yes.
It's all right.
Yeah, with Mark Rylance.
He's
and
brilliant
Tom
in it, yeah.
Hanks. And directed by Steven Spielberg.
That's right.
And I showed you a picture of Steven Spielberg directing said movie
Yeah.
where he looked like a pimp.
He did look like a bit of a pimp.
Yeah.
Now I don't know a
weird.
lot about the narrative. Is the bridge made of spies?
Yeah.
I was going to
They're
say, I don't know a
on
lot
the
about
bridge.
narrative, but I know a lot about pimps.
I know a lot about pimps.
It's really good. I thought it was like it's great to see like a Spielberg Hanks collaboration, isn't it?
Yeah, and written by the Coen brothers.
That's right. Yeah, it is. And I thought it was good. There's a lot of it's incredibly American. Like there's some really on the nose bits. There's a couple of bits. Like there's one bit where I laughed out loud, and it's meant to be a really poignant bit.
Right at the end.
Right at the end. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Is
a
that
teaser?
American? Or is that just a bit
Well-
of a cringe moment? That's not that American.
Yeah, but I associate super cringe, over emotional moments with Americans.
Lovely.
Rory, let's hear from you.
On that note, happy
On the
Thanksgiving.
day of Thanksgiving.
On the day of Thanksgiving,
Attacking me?
Sort it out, Yanks.
I'm just trying to give thanks, and you're berating me.
You're
What's
not
your-
American,
what's your
Daily.
point?
I just mean this. It's good, but because it's like a historical film, you do get these moments in it where you just kind of like groan and like, oh come on, get on with it. But it is a really good film.
History, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not history though. It's just the stuff that they're just adding in as like
So it's not-
pure emotion stuff.
So it's the sentimentality of it.
That's right, yeah.
Rather than the history.
Well, no, it's because in historical films there's always over sentimental bits in it. I feel in American bits,
Schindler's List not very sentimental.
it's super sentimental. Like
What?
over the top sort of stuff, like the girl in the red coat and stuff like that. Like really on the nose bits. Like
I think
that.
it's
But
fine.
that's just-
I see that's poignant.
Monuments
It's
Men.
sentimental.
Yeah,
That's
like
just
Saving
being
Private
adapted to
Ryan.
film, though. That's the difference between like a documentary and a film, though. Is
So,
having
hang on,
like
though. So
sentimental
you-
moments.
The really on. So there's a couple of bits that it's really obviously what it's harking back to. There's one bit in particular, and you honestly don't see my point.
Which
where-
bit?
Sorry, let's just forget about that. But we can't talk about it because it's a spoiler. But you honestly don't see my point that
The
you
bit
think,
at the end.
Yeah.
When he looks out of a window.
Yes,
But I don't think that's just a weird sentimental moment that could be in any film.
but they're not in any films. I mean, like in American historical American films, there's always over sentimental bits in there. I
Okay.
feel. Like really sort of on the nose bits. There's a lot of stuff in Monuments Men, which I've gone about on this podcast before. You honestly don't see this.
But there's lots of sentimental bits in lots of American films. I think it's one of those things that if you want a group said set in a certain way, you
Yeah.
can see that pattern.
Okay.
Unless we're going to present a set of alternate... You know, you can't say it's just limited to historical films.
I'm not saying it's limited. I'm just saying it's a trait that happens quite a lot in them.
Okay, well, that's fine.
All right,
but,
thank you.
But you're saying that... But if it's of abnormal frequency in historical films, it's something I would take umbrage with.
I disagree, but that's fine. But we're talking about collaborations anyway, not how wrong Cooper is, so that's fine.
Okay.
So this
Platoon, when he makes a necklace out of kids' ears, I couldn't believe how mawkish it was.
Platoon is pretty mawkish though.
Shut up.
So we're talking about
On the
collaborations
4th
anyway.
born
Yeah.
on the 4th of July, when he's severely disabled and urinating himself, I couldn't believe how sentimental it was.
That's pretty mawkish. Let's move on. So we're talking about collaborations anyway. So Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks have collaborated quite a few times on some really cool films. Not just like actor and director, but also as producers as well. They both produced a lot of films together. So we want to talk about what are your favorite movie collaborations.
You both looked at me.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh.
I've got my
That was definitely hard.
My favorite one is Wes Anderson and Bill Murray. Because I think a lot of the films that they do together, I just really, really like. I think possibly my favorite film is Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and I think it's one of these things. Like a good collaboration is when the director and actor seem to like really sort of get each other and really like work together like really, really well. And barring Darjeeling Limited, which Bill Murray's in, but not really, and I don't really think that film works. But other than that, I think all their collaborations are pretty much bang on.
What is it that he brings to his films?
I think he writes specifically really, really good Bill Murray characters. Like the Bill Murray characters I've seen in like frequent years that haven't had Wes Anderson behind it are not quite as good. The same as well, like if you look at like Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, when they're working together, I feel like their films are like really, really good and like really nailing it. But when they're apart from each other, they don't work as well, I don't think. And I feel the same way for Bill Murray and Wes Anderson.
Why do you think it is that directors of a certain type of director latch onto a particular actor? Is it literally just an aspect of trust?
Yeah, it could be, I think.
Maybe it's just like relatability. Like your writing mannerisms and the way you design your characters fits more specifically to that actor.
Yeah.
Like definitely with Edgar Wright and like Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
I feel like his writing style just like fits so perfectly coming out of his mouth. Like it just works really well.
Yeah.
Maybe
But then I
that's
guess
it.
they write together as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe it is like a trust thing. But I guess you get to know that person, and you like write a character. You go, oh, there'd be an amazing thing for this person to do and stuff like that. I think.
Is there a downside to this? So you get a rapport, working relationship, a friendship
Yeah.
with said actor, and then regardless of what next project it is, you hire that person,
Tim Burton, Johnny Depp.
even if there's someone else far more capable in
Yeah.
that role.
Tim Burton, Johnny Depp is the one that. Like,
Which
comes
ones
to
do you
mind.
think?
I think Sweeney Todd. I didn't think it was particularly good.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. I didn't. Oh, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was pretty good. Alice in Wonderland. I don't think it's particularly good in that. But then like, their earlier stuff, like they did, was really, really good.
He had really white teeth in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
All American people.
Any
do.
man who owns a chocolate factory, you would assume his teeth would be
Or they're
much
rotted.
poorer.
They might be
Yeah,
false.
condition.
They could be false. Though.
That's very true. He's
They're-
taking a
they're
horse's teeth. And, yeah.
entirely worn away.
Yeah.
But then also as well, I guess just having. I'm trying to think of like what I'm trying to say about like. There's one in particular like Christopher Nolan, Michael Caine. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's
like,
the one that I had.
They're like really good. Sorry.
Yeah.
Why'd you like that?
That was it. That was my one. Well, I love Michael Caine.
Okay.
Ever since I was a kid and watched Muppet Christmas Carol and him playing Scrooge. So then I know, this is starting at a very simple point. But then like moving on from there, so I loved Inception
Yeah.
and Michael Caine in The Prestige. Amazing. Like, it's just all these films that snowballed. And then as soon as like Dark Knight came around, I was just like, he just fits so well.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's great. Like them two
I think-
together.
I
Like
think-
his movie styles with Michael Caine.
Yeah, and I think both in those instances, that Wes Anderson and Chris Nolan, that is one actor who plays a small role in many films.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think, the archetypal director and his muse. I'm thinking like the classic one I grew up with is Scorsese and De Niro.
Yeah.
That is a succession of films that redefined and then defined American cinema in the 70s, from like Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, all the way up until Raging Bull, and then later collaborations like Cape Fear. But then two together, you know, did seminal work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can't almost like unentwine those two for that period at all. And then later on, Scorsese transitions and moves on. He starts collaborating
another one.
with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where it gets to a point where it's like, I still want to make stories of people of a certain age. You know, I'm not gonna keep on making films with Bobby, because Bobby, you know, as much as he likes Margot Robbie, Bobby is better in Meet the Fockers now.
That'd be very different films.
What's it called? Dirty Grandpa?
Yeah. Oh god.
Oh, God.
That's interesting though, isn't it? Like people would have grown up. Like depending on how old you are, people
Yeah,
will
you would
grown
think,
up
yeah.
with a different.
Because Robert De Niro,
it,
what
yeah.
Robert De Niro signifies to you? Like, I grew up before a lot of those films were made, and
Yeah, same
in
here.
my imagination, you know, he was the greatest actor, the greatest Hollywood star, greatest Hollywood actor of the second half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what my first De Niro movie was. I think it was something really late, like not serious at all. It
Meet
might
the
have been
Parents.
like, it might have been Meet the Parents. I know, but
imagine.
like, well, I mean, Raging Bull way before my time, like, and Taxi Driver. But I mean, I've gone back and seen them, and it's weird having that like that reverse chronological order where.
So good.
Didn't look at his early
Godfather
days.
Part 2 as well.
Yeah.
And that's not Scorsese, but it's on the topic of De Niro.
Even though I really like this, so I've like on the list is Christopher Nolan and Michael Caine. I think even though I really like that collaboration, I think he is really good in them. He does pretty much play the same sort of character in all of them. I think.
Well, he's
he
never
plays the same
doing
character in
like a
3 of them.
Swedish accent or something.
Yeah, all these Batman ones.
Hello. Mr.
Well,
Batman, yeah.
It's a bit same in this role. Why is he always wearing this outfit?
Change it up, Michael.
Oh, this is it. Oh, now he's reading a bit from Tale of Two Cities. Oh.
But like he always plays a sort of older. I mean, he's old, so he's going to be doing that. But he plays
Dispensing wisdom.
Dispensing wisdom. Yeah, he plays that character, which he does well.
He's
does
always
it so well.
He's always delivering monologues about tangerines in the jungle. It was the size of a bloody great big tangerine.
He's always got such a
love that.
great shutdown line. Like it's all building and building, and then like Michael Caine will have the last little line that you're just like, whoa, that was some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's so good. That's why he's great for that role.
Because like Spielberg for a period of time flirted with
Ooh.
Tom Cruise. War of the Worlds, Minority Report, and then a lot with Hanks.
Yeah.
So he's been quite free. I was thinking of a good one. They're talking about like a director doing a body of work and then moving on maybe to a new actor that can sustain the next phase in his career.
Yeah.
What's quite a good one too is Al Pacino and De Palma.
Okay, yeah.
Because they did Scarface at the beginning and
Yeah.
then they did Carlito's Way a
Yeah.
good chunk of time later. And the films are unrelated, but...
In my head, they always
But
are,
they're
yeah.
like the... wanky word, but like
Yeah.
the metatextual knowledge of knowing that they made those films together.
Yeah.
And it's a similar type of character. Like Carlito could have been Scarface to a much lesser extent and is trying to reform his life.
Yeah.
Those two films and the knowledge of what they made together kind of interacts with
Yeah.
those movies.
I prefer Carlito's Way to
It's,
to
it's
Scarface.
an amazing ending to that
Yeah,
movie.
it's really. Oh, it's just-
Ooh,
you
I haven't
should-
seen
you
that
should
one.
watch
Haven't you?
I really like
Oh.
Scarface as well.
Yeah, it's
so-
kind of almost like this quiet epilogue to...
yeah.
But it's a really good movie.
Another couple
Alright.
that we haven't mentioned: Quentin Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Does he do the same thing in a lot of those movies?
No.
Kind of long, big
No, shut down. No.
big shouty monologues,
Oh yeah.
big angry monologue.
Yeah.
I guess yeah. The monologues are there. The character is always
But that I guess is
pretty-
a part of his writing
Yeah.
style.
yeah.
David Fincher and Brad Pitt. Decent one.
So what we got there? Fight Club,
Fight
Seven.
Club, Seven, and Benjamin Button.
Yeah, I don't like Benjamin Button.
I haven't seen Benjamin Button.
I like it. I don't know why.
Sentimental.
Sentimental.
Does anything happen in
That
it?
is a really sentimental film.
Does anything happen or does
Likes
it?
What do you mean? Does anything happen to it? It's about
Well,
two
he
and a
just
half
gets-
hours long, mate. Loads happens in it.
You know what they should
But
do? It
also
would be quite
nothing
funny.
happens in it.
They should start the movie with the credits. Hey, because it's all
Yeah.
it's all revert. Have you seen the film,
What?
Gav?
Yeah.
You should be laughing then.
Don't
Don't
try to second guess Fincher.
John Carpenter, Kurt Russell.
Yeah, they've made some. That's quite good, and that's quite a diverse set of films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
Love Kurt Russell.
when I was growing up, I looked at this. I thought they did way more together. But Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder.
Is it just a handful?
Yeah, just 3. I thought it was way more. But in my head, I always watch those films. There's a Coen Brothers and Francis McDormand as well, which is a really good one.
What's Scorsese and De Niro on?
8.
That's
Jeez.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, can you name all 8? Quiz time.
Oh man.
Okay.
I don't know the answer. Like, should we do it together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Mean Streets.
Yeah.
Good. Mean Streets Taxi Driver,
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull, Cape Fear,
What's it called?
Goodfellas.
Oh yeah.
There's one. Once Upon a Time in America.
No, that's not Scorsese.
Isn't it?
That's Sergio Leone.
Meet the Fockers.
King of Comedy.
Yeah. What's that? 6.
Yeah.
What have I forgot what we've said?
Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, Raging Bull,
Yeah.
Goodfellas, Cape Fear, King of Comedy,
Casino.
Casino.
Yeah.
Are we one away?
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be
The worst part is everyone listening is gonna be like screaming the answer.
Yeah, it's harder when you've got a camera and microphones in front of you, though, isn't it? So
Oh, this is not good podcasting. Everyone just thinking.
Yeah. Gab's gonna look it up.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Yeah, because
It's gonna be another one of like King of Comedy. I think.
do you think
Oh come on.
he's not in After Hours?
Casino Royale's
It's
last
probably
one.
a really. Did you say Raging Bull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we put like the Simpsons like technical difficulty music over this? New York, New York.
Oh, bloody hell.
That was the other one. They were also in Shark Tale together as well.
I hate that film.
Yeah, it's not very good, is it?
All I know is the car
so
wash
technically
song that came from it.
Yeah, like Shark
The
Tale
car
is like
wash.
the embarrassing like budget version of Finding Nemo that your mum would want you to get.
Will Smith is in it, though.
Like, oh,
They-
so
Taylor Swift
So
is in it?
is that a guarantor of quality?
What?
Will Smith.
I thought you said
No,
Taylor
you're right. No,
Swift.
it's not.
I don't know why that's less
But Will
weird,
Smith's
though.
in it. Yeah, he's in a load of shit, mate.
He's in mostly shit, Gav.
Yeah, but
It's the longer it goes on.
they went like the wrong way from Finding Nemo, because Finding Nemo like took fish and like made them all cute. I feel like they just like put human faces on fish.
Yeah,
It looks like
if I
Will
remember
Smith's
correctly,
face on like
yeah,
a
if I remember
fish.
correctly, the Martin Scorsese fish has massive eyebrows. I don't know how many fish you've seen.
It's
Do you know
so
how
weird.
few have eyebrows?
It's so
It's
weird.
not a
It's
common
so weird.
feature
So
of
what
the
we-
fish.
So what
No.
are we saying now? Are we saying Scorsese-De Niro is the best collaboration?
Yeah.
Based on
Yes.
number
Or
alone?
Hitchcock and Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Just throw that one in the end.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is all we're going like super modern, I guess. Yeah, that's really good. But yeah, Bridge of Spies is really good.
Seamless.
What about Rogan and Franco? They have some good.
We're not doing that.
They have some
Not
good.
do that.
We
Right,
finished- we
on-
finished
all
now,
right,
we
moving
finished
on.
now.
Moving on
Cool.
from that, let's get on to something good.
What is good this week?
Civil War trailer dropped earlier this week.
See, this isn't good, and I had a great time yesterday because we picked it apart when the trailer went up. But I don't think it's an amazing trailer.
Do you know? I thought you really liked it.
I actually flip flop too. I'm with Gav now on this one.
I liked-
the dust is settled.
I like the trailer. So let's have this on.
Dive right in. Whew.
Divided we fall.
Oh God.
Right, come on. So
I-
what's the feeling? Why?
Do you know what? It was just I never get grabbed by any Marvel trailers. I don't think they all seem to be. They follow like a similar pattern.
What's the pattern?
Just really not misleading, but it's always doom and gloom in the trailers. And I think even though that is good, and I love the fact that it's good, but sometimes
Man and Guardians.
oh yeah, Ant-Man, except for
That's
Ant-Man
a
and
very
Guardians,
different,
but like
yeah.
in most of the ones, even like Avengers and stuff, like Avengers should be more fun than it is, I think.
Especially Age of Ultron. The trailer for that was horrifically grim. It was so depressing, and I thought the movie was going to be
But then at the
incredibly
time,
serious.
like when they
It's
going
hard, I
for that a
guess, yeah.
bit, they were trying to do that with that sequel, like make
Yeah.
it the
but it wasn't at all.
darker-
It was really quite funny. I didn't
it's
think
funny
it
bits.
went
Yeah,
dark
but
enough.
I think they were trying to like play up the
Yeah.
the Empire Strikes Back kind of like a really bad villain because everyone's like, oh, your villains are really weak.
It made me excited for the film because I want to see just exactly how it pans out and things like that. Like I'm a huge fan of the Civil War comics, but you know, as we talked about yesterday, you don't think that it's going
I
to
just
be
think
that
it's
similar to it,
almost
which is
gonna
fair
be-
enough.
Yeah, like the Civil War comic is like one of the most popular and successful
Yeah.
Marvel comics the last 20 years, and yeah, fair play to them using that title.
Yeah.
But I think if you look too closely at that source material for like to judge this movie based on that,
Yeah.
would do a disservice to both.
Yeah.
And to look at the comic for clues of what's going to happen to this is misleading because the MCU is dramatically different.
Yeah.
The Civil War comic works because it lives in a universe that's existed for 40 years and
Yeah.
like there's secret identities and there can be interdimensional space prisons.
Yeah.
It can't do that in the MCU.
I think my main thing is I don't find Cap that interesting.
How
in the
dare
MCU.
you?
Not in. I hate
I
that.
do find him interesting.
I love him.
MCU.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
recently watched First Avenger and I recently watched Winter Soldier, and I think like Chris Evans has done a pretty good job with that role.
Those
and,
are two of my
and
favorite
also, like,
superhero
I think
movies.
he's
I
like,
agree. Yeah,
I
I
really
think they're
think
great.
he's
Winter Soldier, especially.
I
It's
really
definitely
think
one
he's
of the
the
best.
heart and soul of that team. Like his bits where he goes and visit, like when he crash lands the plane and speaks to Peggy, genuinely gets to me. The
Yeah.
bit where he throws himself onto a grenade. To
Oh,
protect
I
everyone, it's
love
pretty good.
that. That's the
thing,
And
this-
the bit when he
amazing.
says to her, when she has Alzheimer's, he
Yeah.
goes, "I can never leave my best girl waiting for a dance." It's like, that's really good.
No, it's really good. I agree. Yeah.
But
you
it's a really
quack?
good moment, and his relationship with Bucky, like the end of Winter Soldier, when he just won't fight him, and he goes, "Because I'm with you to the end of the line." Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big
I'm not-
line.
yeah, that's the
but I
thing.
think he sells me. I like that.
This is my problem, like with the Civil War trailer. Like, obviously, I read the comics and I'm a huge fan. And I think, like as you said, I'm coming at it from it wanting to be like what I'm used to, like the narrative that I'm used to. And obviously, seeing the trailer, it's not like that at all. And one of my problems that I had with Winter Soldier was, like, the whole conflict with Bucky and the emotions towards Bucky, I didn't feel like he was a big enough character in the first Avengers
I agree.
to
Yeah,
make him such a
definitely.
pivotal point. And now it's going into this third movie where instead of it being this big political struggle to divide the
Yeah.
teams, it seems to be more about Bucky and his relationship with
That's the
Bucky.
thing,
And I don't know, unless they play that relationship up in a big
Yeah.
part and you really feel something, I don't know if you're going to feel that tear.
Not even just relationship though. Like I think that's one of my big problems is I don't like Sebastian Stan. Like I don't think.
Right. Okay.
Like looking at him, I don't get anything.
Well, we haven't really
Like-
been given a chance to because he hasn't had many acting scenes where he's not brainwashed or just crazy. Like there's not much like going on. There's not like any big dramatic scenes
Yeah.
aside from the finale on the plane, which you got like a little bit of a hint of.
Yeah.
So I guess if they play that up, because obviously the way it's going into the third film, he's still out in the open, right? And from the trailer, it seems like they've managed to track him down and capture him, and they're having like a bit of a one-on-one. So maybe there'll be like a bit of an emotional drive in those scenes
Yeah.
that get you caring a little bit more towards the characters.
Yeah, I think, as much as Winter Soldier had a lot of screen time for Cap, they had a lot of screen time for Black Widow. I think you'll have that similar sort of setup in this movie.
Yeah.
Just them like going from country to country, and then the other heroes will turn up to give their opinions on like in pivotal scenes and then the
Yeah.
action sequences. But I think a lot of it will be centered on those two characters.
That's the thing. I was thinking last
Almost
night.
like a Bourne kind of thing, like throughout Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sad thing about that is, the thing that I really liked about Winter Soldier is how much they did build up like Black Widow and Captain America, which it seems like they are maybe will carry on a little
She
bit.
still
But,
seems like in it, like.
but imagine, like, why didn't they should have just used Black Widow instead of Bucky as like the thing that goes wrong? That'd have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because that would have tore the team apart a little bit more as well.
What the thing framing her?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I do think that is less. Oh, then I feel like that is less a Captain America film. I think so because this is
Actually, that's a
delving
really
back
good
into
point.
his
That's a really good
past.
point. Yeah.
This is like because what I liked about this trailer is like before you're like. This is essentially Avengers 4.
Yeah.
Watched the trailer, I thought, no, this feels like Captain America 3.
Yeah.
This is anchored in his past, his friendship. And that's the thing. And I quite like that being the thing that initiates the Civil War and divides Tony and Cap. And you get it in the trailer. It's
Yeah.
like, this wouldn't happen if it wasn't Bucky. If it wasn't this dude, his best friend, the guy who always believed in him, the guy who
Yeah.
thought he died, the guy he feels responsible for, that's the only guy he's willing to protect and like maybe step over boundaries
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think
He
it's
says
just
like,
I think that-
he's my friend.
it's
I
getting
can't.
it's
think
getting
that
the
is fair
weight
enough,
of that
but then-
friendship. Yeah.
Sorry, as Rory says, like it doesn't feel like really we've had that much. Even actually, we've had two films in fairness, and I guess Winter Soldier. But he does, as you say, he doesn't do much.
No, and when you look at it from like what's actually happening in the film, you're seeing like a friendship between Captain America and Iron Man essentially dissolve. And you're kind of supposed to believe that it's because of this other friendship. You know, we've had so many films with Captain America and Iron Man. You know, we've come to know them as really close
agree.
friends, and we don't really have that relationship with Cap and Bucky yet. So hopefully that's something they'll put
What
in
I think
place
is
to
quite
justify
cool as
it.
well is like actually because Winter Soldier, First Avenger, it feels like a long time ago that movie. But if you think about the psychology of Captain America, like he was friends with Bucky for like what 25 years or so.
Yeah.
And then freezed, and then he's had a few Avengers. But that actually is obviously not for his consciousness. That wasn't that long ago. He was friends with Bucky very recently.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Like
yeah.
for everyone else, it's like, oh, this guy died back in the 1940s. For
Yeah.
Cap, it happened 5 years ago.
Yeah, you kind of
Very emotionally and psychologically like close to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did do a good job of that at the end of the second Captain America film, where you get that little "I'm with you till the end of the line"
Yeah,
comment,
I love
and then
that.
you just the weight of that,
Yeah.
and then you kind of realize it's a friendship. It has a backstory. They've had these moments
That's
before.
cool as well, 'cause
yeah,
it is a time travel story as well. Because like
Yeah.
Bucky's been thought out a lot over time to like kill people throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second
Yeah.
half of the 20th century. Like, yeah,
That
he
must
obviously
get
feels
annoying.
guilty. Like that's the thing. I quite like that. Like obviously you have to bring more because like they've not explored it fully in the movies. But like I like that idea that Cap feels responsible for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, left him for dead. It's like they took my friend and they made him into a
Yeah,
monster.
I hadn't thought about that actually. Like you just made a really, really good point. Like it did just happen the other day to him. Like
Same with Peggy.
Yeah.
That must like break him when
That's
he goes
even
and sees
worse,
Peggy
yeah.
and he sees her like this woman he could have had a life with.
yeah.
I know I just watched him
You should have
recently
been
as
like,
well.
can you have frozen her as well? You've frozen the one that's trying
I
to
know,
kill me
I
with
know.
one arm.
I know.
Freeze her.
Yeah.
that's why I think like I really enjoy the character of Captain America, because it seems
Yeah.
like a lot of the characters fall into the issue of like it's a normal person, now I have powers and I have to deal with the powers. But for
Yeah.
Captain America, it's like it's never
Right.
about his powers.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
about
yeah.
that he's a person out of time.
Yeah.
Like that's his big struggle. It's not like he never struggles with being like a superhero at all. It's,
Like,
it's-
he's perfect to be a super. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's why he was chosen. You were literally the ideal person to have these powers. We can trust you with them, like, implicitly.
Yeah.
You're the good dude.
wish I was Captain America.
Well,
Amazing.
It's
Well,
how it's
but
how
then
it
the,
may.
the struggle.
The struggle is real.
So
If we
that's
have any German scientists that listen to the podcast and are working on any serums of any kind, I will drink them. I will drink
Can't be
them
worse
without
than what you usually
question.
drink. Rory, you know, Rory drank something the other day. It was a gel in a packet that was nutritionally equal to one rice bowl.
Yeah,
Just what? That's not
that's
a drink.
weird. That's weird.
Why?
Because I was trying out. Me and my brother went to a place called the Japan Center. Dan tipped us off. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dan. And there was all these like crazy Japanese energy drinks. So I was like, I'm gonna have a field day. I'm just gonna like have all these really, really weird ones. One of them came in a little space packet, like, and we thought it was gonna be like a gel that you would eat, like a fitness gel, but it was bitty. Like it kind of came out like old milk, and it was the equivalent to one rice ball. It was really good.
Is it nice?
Yeah, it was really
Oh,
nice.
you're sounding like pretty down on it. Like
Yeah.
described it's like old milk.
All over the place.
Well, I love old milk as well. Don't get me wrong here,
I like
guys.
it. I like it when it curdles.
It's good. It's good. Get a bit of girth to it.
So something else that's good this week then. Battlefront. Still 1 week on.
Still good.
How are we feeling about it?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fresh. Everyone in the world is getting better at it, though. So in turn, I'm getting worse. We're all getting worse. I think we lost 3 games at lunchtime consecutively.
I felt like on the first day that we were playing it, like in the day, I felt like we were kicking ass. By the night, it was like, oh, now everyone's good at it again.
Poor man's.
Like, there's like that's the thing. I'm not very good at first-person shooters. They're not my game. But there's like Cargo, I properly love because I'm alright at that.
Yeah.
So, but then I find myself like I'll lose like 5 matches in a row and be like, go play Cargo just so I can win some stuff.
That's what we do with Droid Run. If we lose enough Walker Assault, then we'll be
Yeah.
like, let's just do a Droid one to boost our self-esteem and then
Yeah.
go back into it. But that's it. Like, there's enough different game modes and different things you can do inside those modes that always keep it fresh. Like,
Yeah.
even when we're losing in Walker Assault, it's like, you know what, I'm going to change things up. I'm going to actually grab some planes and I'm going to do some aerial combat and,
Yeah.
you know, mix it up a little bit. I'll try and get an ATST instead of just running along in the field. I feel like I haven't quite got my head around what guns to use in what scenarios.
Oh yeah, I think the hands thing you made a good point that like the hands thing makes it simple enough that it's not like COD where you have these like crazy loadouts
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But at the same time, I do the longer I go on playing it, like, and I haven't played it for very long. I'm like only like level 13, 14, something like that. But now I've got enough stuff that, like, I've got enough stuff like the jetpack and stuff like the jump pack.
Yeah.
So, but I've also got like awesome grenades and like cool shots. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to go without my jump pack. But then at the same time, I now have to make a decision between
you got-
a grenade and a thing.
Remember, you can do 2 hands. So if you
Yeah.
die, you can like
Switch
switch
out
to
to-
like. I haven't
yeah.
done enough of that. I think.
I do that, but at the same time, I've got to have the jump pack quite a lot of the time, and it's like, I don't know.
I do find that. So
It's
on,
quite basic.
on Walker Assault, I basically have one for like close range combat and one for
Yeah,
bigger
like
maps.
for
Right,
smaller
yeah.
joy runs, you probably don't need the jump pack.
No.
Yeah.
But then those big ones, yeah, to get
Actually,
back into
I use my jump pack on the small maps. I use jump pack and impact grenade. Yeah.
See.
Well, it depends on the
Oh
map.
yeah,
because
yeah,
in-
yeah.
Yeah.
The old jump pack
You know,
and
jump
impact
pack, just a quick jump, grenade down.
grenade.
Done.
Awesome.
Never even
Some
saw it
of,
coming.
some of my favorite droid ones are the ones where, like, the 2 maps. There's the hangar, the ice hangar, and then the ice caves. Like,
Yes.
and those are pretty much all inside.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Yes, you don't need like jump packs for any of those. It's just the larger maps. You're better off having. There's like a ion shot you can have, which
Yeah.
is essentially like a sniper rifle you can charge, and a homing shot,
Homing shot is
where you can
really
like
good,
lock
yeah.
onto people, which is great for like the long range ones. It's still a lot to be explored, and I feel like when you first get the game, you don't actually get a full impression of what you're going to be playing with, because
Yeah.
a lot of games like COD, you maybe don't unlock stuff till later on, but there's similar substitutes
stuff
and
that-
equipment
yeah.
that's very similar. The fact that you can't use the jump pack until, you know, you're level, what is it, 13, 16, something like that.
yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I literally just found out, one of the things I talked about in the podcast last week was that I wanted them to bring in score streaks into the game. And I was talking about there's no incentive to get kills and not die. And then I just reached a level and they're like, hey, you unlocked all of these score streaks, essentially, like classes, which I had no idea was in the game. You hadn't been able to use any of them at any point. So it's true. You just got to keep playing. And I feel like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like,
Well, that's the thing. I think the way that they unlock stuff, like, it is kind of frustrating when you're getting killed by stuff that you
don't have.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, absolutely.
and it's like, oh, it's just because someone is better, just because someone's been playing longer than me, they get to use something that I don't get to use.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's better they do that. So it's like you get these from a duration of playing rather than you get this from a DLC add-on or bonus or something like that. That's definitely a better way to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you made a really good point, actually. That how long have you been playing it?
In total, probably like 12 hours.
Yeah. And like, that's pretty good for a multiplayer game. That's
Yeah, like I don't play multiplayer much at all. Like what I think of multiplayer is like hanging out in lobbies and playing loads of COD multiplayer.
Yeah.
For a shooter anyway. And I've played this for 12 hours. That's longer than I play a lot of single player games.
Yeah.
I'm still having loads of fun. Granted, because I think we're playing a lot together.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most enjoyable way of playing this.
Yeah, on the headset.
I've played a good 3-4 hours at home just on my own online with random people.
Yeah.
But I like playing together on team-based objectives. And there's a good amount of different modes.
Yeah.
And they're going to add some. Some are free. They're coming on Tuesday next week, December 1st, if you pre-order the game. And then everyone's getting it free on December 8th.
Yeah.
And actually, I should say, if you want to check out Jakku, which is the new map, and Turning Point, which is the new mode, you can do so on IGN next Monday, November 30th, in the evening. If you live in the UK, it'll be on IGN about 7:30 in the evening. You'll be able to see Rory play Jakku live on IGN.
Who doesn't want to see that?
And then later that
chaos, guys.
And then later that evening,
chaos.
we'll have like loads of videos of like what it looks like to be on the Battle of Jakku.
How do you think you're going to do, Rory?
Oh, amazing!
You're playing some pretty big names like Ali A, the YouTuber guy,
or as I call him, Ali Lame.
Whoa!
Why are you saying that?
3 days it took me to come up with that
He's
one.
a nice guy.
Well, we'll see about that. See if he's nice on the battlefield. We're in my zone now. Just to give you a taster,
Play Battlefront.
I had a moment last night. We were doing a droid run,
Yeah.
and we had to capture it. The clock was ticking down. I jump packed into this pack of stormtroopers, killed one of them, threw an impact grenade at the other one, and I saw a guy like lift up his rocket launcher and shoot it at me, and I ducked behind the tiny little square droid, and it hit, and like the fire went all around me, and I didn't die.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like, I was just yelled to Dale. I was like, "How do you save on a PlayStation?" And I was like freaking out, like trying to capture the clip.
Awesome.
So tune in, guys. You'll see loads of that
Mad skills
explosive
like that.
action.
Has that's been your best battle for a moment, is it?
Definitely one of them.
What's yours? Mine is.
spot there.
I've got another good one actually.
I was spoken.
I was.
Oh, go on.
Well, go on then if you insist. It was on Endor, and I managed to run up into the trees, and then I jumped on top of the AT-AT while it was walking, and we were raiding the base.
Yeah.
So I was like riding on top of this giant AT-AT, like shooting people from its head. It was amazing.
I had a moment where playing Cargo Run where it was to win as well. It was like actually to win. And you know the map, I can't remember what it's called, but it's got the Millennium Falcon in the middle, like in the like sort of.
Oh, that's snowy. Yeah.
No, not snow.
Oh.
On Tatooine.
On Tatooine,
It looks a
yeah.
bit like Mos Eisley, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So like kind of like there, and you can run up and jump on top. You can like jump out on top of the Millennium Falcon, and sort of like run over it. And I was being chased by a guy, and he was just like shooting me, and I had basically had to get our cargo over to the other thing. And I never go around that way. I always go around the back. But I thought, I haven't got any time at all. Did you just?
I need to play cargo with you. You're telling you got this down.
So I run up, jump back on top of the ship, run over to get it, and I could hear him shoot. As I think, turn around, threw a grenade as I fell off, and I could just hear it blow up, and then I got the kill and run up front and got the win.
Amazing.
I was like, that is probably the best thing I've ever done in any multiplayer game, and I'll never
Do it again.
I'll never be able to do that again.
I like when you get in a TIE fighter and you fly in and you're like, oh, this could be awesome, and then you just crash. I really like that. I do that quite a lot. I do that. I like that so much. I would say I do that 9 times out of 10. I just focus on the thing I want to shoot, and then I forget to change direction.
That
so I end up
happens.
just killing them and myself.
There's 3 outcomes when you get into a plane, and it's either you crash yourself into the mountains, someone shoots you down, or you're driving at someone and you get a lock on, but he gets a lock on, and neither of you want to pull away because you both have the lock on, and you just
How
collide
do you
with each other
evade
in
missiles?
space.
I do those evasive maneuvers.
I'm flying
nothing.
about. The worst one is when it's like, oh, enemy has a lock on, so I'll do some crazy trick where I'll just loop-de-loop straight into the rocks. It's just like, he's not getting me, I'll get myself.
I like the loop where it's like, do the loop. I'm literally back in the same position I was at.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's fun
keep,
though.
Sorry, just to end this then, I keep doing a thing, like, I've never been in Slave 1 or Millennium Falcon. Not for more than, like, 5 seconds.
Never been any of
I
them.
only get it right at the end, and I get it right at the end, and then it's just, like, over. It's like, I've been in, maybe Slave 1 the longest for about 10 seconds. I don't think
No,
I've
never
killed
been
anything
either.
in any of them. But what else? We played something cool last week, actually.
Yeah, I think it was cool.
It was another spacey shooty game called Gunjack, which is done by the Eve people, CCP, and it's exclusively on the Samsung VR headset.
What is the Samsung VR headset for people who do not know?
So
Stands for virtual reality. Dan. VR.
Samsung.
So it's a headset that you can whack your Samsung phone in, and you basically give yourself a home virtual reality headset.
And you give yourself a VR experience.
Yeah.
Gav was doing jazz hands.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how good quality it was. This is the first time I've used like a phone VR.
Yeah, it's really good.
I just assumed because it's not actual VR. I was like, this is gonna be crap. But it was really good. Like,
Gav, you know, if you were like playing VR and like you went, oh, this VR headset's a little bit dirty, would you take it off and just like lick the VR headset?
Oh, listen.
Rory, would you like to clarify this?
I would. We're all sitting here. Mike's
Prior to
set
recording.
up. Camera's rolling. Dale's all set, and we're like, all right,
I
guys,
know it's
let's
weird.
start the podcast. Gavs goes, oh, hang on for a second. Takes off his glasses. Licks the
inside?
both of the inside
And the outside.
of the lenses of his glasses.
Look, I had
like a
smears
mad cat.
all over them, and I couldn't take them to the bathroom to wash. We were just about to film, so I thought I'll just do that.
Just rub them. Do
It
that.
doesn't work. It
There's
didn't
a
work.
reason the condensation.
No, that's
Do
not
that.
enough. That's not never
It
enough.
needs full-on
I need a
tonguing.
full, no, because usually I would take him to the bathroom and like put on the taps and do it like that, and then wipe with my handkerchief. Don't have a handkerchief or a tap in here, so I'd use the best next best
you-
thing. My tongue.
What's substitute for handkerchief? Tongue. Are you crying, love?
Guys,
Could you imagine if we were
Let me
just about to
lick out
start the
your-
podcast? I was like,
lick the
smudge on the lens.
lens.
Just gonna lick it
These,
up.
these CVs we use for images on Rebel Base, they're a bit fingerprinty.
George Miller's like, smudge in the top left. Oh, don't worry, George. Got that.
give me the glasses, George. I'll do this for you. As well. Sharp. Listen, you work with what you got, all right?
Yeah, I told
You lick what you've got. It's fine.
But we had some people come in and they showed us the game. So basically, the VR, I think it costs about 90 quid, the headset, but you do have to have a Samsung phone as
Yeah,
well.
which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you've got this VR experience. And yeah, Gunjack is actually really good.
Yeah, I thought the headset was really good because I've tried, I think, all the VR headsets now,
Yeah.
all the main ones, all the big ones.
Big ones.
And this is definitely the most comfy. I guess it's the finalized hardware. I've not tried the retail Oculus yet.
That's pretty
I've just
comfy.
tried.
When
the
is that? Do
prototype.
you know when that's coming out?
Early next year.
Okay.
This one's obviously really light because it's just the phone that's doing the
And
processing.
you don't get headphones with it as well, whereas like some of them you get headphones
Yeah,
built
so
in.
that
Yeah.
obviously decreases the weight, which obviously makes it more comfortable. Because a lot of them, the prototype ones, like really dig into your face.
Yeah.
Also, I thought for a phone, the thing I've always noticed when I try VR is like that's really pixelated.
Yeah.
And considering this was a phone, I didn't think about that
Well, it's
at
got-
all.
yeah.
It's got a really good thing, and I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's the only one that you can adjust the focus at the top.
Right. Okay.
Because I can't remember if I've been able to do that with the other ones. Like you can bring the lenses like further away and stuff like that, but you can't adjust the focus, I think. And with this, like if it's a little bit blurry, you adjust the focus a little bit. Perfect.
That's what you want from
Yeah,
Focus.
it's really good.
And then we were playing Gunjack, which utilised a sensor on the side of the headset.
Yeah.
So imagine if you listen to this, like Cyclops
Yeah.
in the X-Men.
I
and-
felt like
And you're
Cyclops.
pressing the side of the visor to shoot the laser guns in Gunjack, which is
Yeah.
kind of it's a space shooting
It's
game.
Eve, yeah.
Yeah, you're basically in a turret shooting targets coming towards you.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
I really like it. They've got another VR game which is Eve Valkyrie, which is like their big one. They're really sort of pushing because they've got like a full development team. I think Gunjack has as well, but a smaller team.
Is that
They've
like,
got,
similar mechanics? Like,
it's not
base
because you
turret or-
use a controller.
Oh.
With Oculus, and
oh, that's awesome.
it is really good, but at the same time, it's because Eve Online is like one of the most intricate space games there is, and I think they've tried to sort of marry that like intricacy of like the flying bits with like an arcade style shooter. And for me, I don't know, it's always just way too hard. There's way too much stuff to think about.
Yeah.
But a lot of people really like it.
That's what I was
And,
going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but Eve are like really CCP are really pushing it as like a big
esports game that I think is really going to take off, apparently. Because at any sort of EVE event, at the fan fest I've been to, there's been like tournaments there where people can win a development kit too. Like they have like a big sort of esports tournament. I don't know whether or not that'll take off.
That's cool.
But I mean,
everyone's going for the esports now.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying with Gunjack though, because it's like, it's really good. I don't know how you can play it unless you have someone who can bring it round to your office as well. Maybe they've got their own like Samsung thing.
Right in, and we'll already.
But do you know what I mean though? Like it's hard with these VR stuff because they'll be like
demoing. It's really hard. Like
because we're gonna have we're gonna be able to play them at different things.
I think that's just the problem the
you've got
developers are
good
going to face.
disposable
Like,
income to take a punt.
Yeah.
You say like it's £90, but without the phone, you're spending £90 on
nothing,
on some straps and a cradle.
yeah,
And with the phone, in conjunction with the phone, it works really well. It's a cool bit of kit. So if you've already got the phone on contract, it probably is a cheaper, more accessible way into VR.
Yeah. Excellent. What else was good this week? Uniqlo Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, we went down to the shop Uniqlo.
Yeah.
And we checked out a new range. It's already out in Japan, the Star Wars range.
Yeah.
And we went down, and there was loads of people dressed as Jawas. And AT-AT pilots.
What? I
And
didn't know
there's
this.
a new t-shirt range, and there's more than just t-shirts. There's jackets, socks, slippers, blankets, jumpers, hoodies, puffy jackets that Uniqlo do.
There's a lot
all
of
with Star Wars patterns, and some are really cool.
Some are really good. Some they're just not as good, I don't think.
Yeah, but I think what is particularly appealing is this Force Awakens t-shirts.
Yeah.
Like official Force
Yeah,
Awakens.
That's
that's
cool.
fair enough. Yeah.
like it's got to get to the point where it's like, what can you do creatively with the Star Wars brand and Star Wars logo?
Well,
like that's got to be a challenge.
The t-shirt that we picked up, I think.
Yeah, we both picked the same one.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like long sleeve black with just like really sort of faded drawings of TIE
Yeah,
fighters
it's like
and X-Wings and
outlines
stuff
of
like
like
that, yeah.
space battles. So it's like
Oh,
X-Wings,
that's
Death
cool.
Stars, TIE Fighters, just
I really
outlined.
liked it. Like when I first picked it up, we were sort of texting. I was like, oh, it's probably more of a pajama thing. I wore it. To
You always wear it, but you wear your pajamas to work.
That's fine.
That's fine. Mate, you're licking your glasses away.
Shut up. I was also wearing it back.
You
to
don't
front.
give a shit.
Because I text you.
Were
Going,
you?
Yeah, when I text you saying, "Oh, it's a little bit huggy on my portly frame." I was.
It's like, oh, it's your back.
Yeah, it's because I was wearing it back to front. When I put it on the next morning, I was like, "Oh, that's really comfy." I was wearing it back to front.
But shirts aren't bigger at the front than they are at the back.
You ever
Different
tried
cut,
on a
dude.
blouse by accident?
No.
That's bigger. That's bigger at the front.
How do you put on a blouse by
Bigger at the
accident?
front.
But the cut is different though. If you put that shirt
At the
if you-
neck?
No,
Yeah, surely,
yeah,
but
no-
not
Oh
like,
no, it is though.
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
Like
it?
this. But why are you smelling yourself?
Go on, I'll put that Spanish theme music back on now. You can do.
Oh, what these all things?
I feel like I've put shirts on before accidentally, and it just feels like tight around the neck.
Accidentally. I'm dressed. I didn't want to be dressed.
That's it.
I'm going to bed. How am I fully dressed?
Get in the shower. Oh, I put it on. I didn't take it off. Ridiculous.
I think the stuff that I always like about Uniqlo is the stuff that's not so obviously.
Yeah, I
the
think that's
brand
my
as
rule
well.
with
Yeah.
a lot. It's obviously what we work in. I'm sure a lot of people listen to this. Like, I own loads of like Marvel t-shirts.
Yeah.
But the best ones are the ones I really like. Are the ones that it's not just like, here's a big picture of that character on the front of your t-shirt. It's
Yeah.
like there's something a bit more smart. They've like thought about design and how it
Yeah.
works on a t-shirt itself.
Yeah.
I remember like a friend of the show, Ollie Moss, because
Yeah.
he designed some t-shirts early on in his career, and actually used to think of designs that would make sense on a t-shirt rather than like, here's a cool image, let's print that on a t-shirt. So
Right.
he did one where it's like a t-shirt is unique, so it has a front and back.
Yeah.
So you can have a design that works across those two planes.
yeah, same thing
Yeah,
though.
that's good.
Front and back.
Yeah, like the stuff that into coin clothing, like who do the video game stuff. Like sometimes I think their stuff, they manage to find such a small thing that's in the background of a game, or just a really, really like a product or something like that within that world, and make something cool out of that. Whereas I think if you just had like Star Wars on it, like, it's not as good.
Although no, I would quite like just the original logo. But that's the thing, if it was like the original logo.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
kind of faded, looking cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Rory, round off the goodness this week. What have you got?
The goodness is rounded off by Peep Show, the latest season. I am 3 episodes deep right now. I'm a huge Peep Show fan. Obviously, this is the final season, which I'm just heartbroken
Only 6
about.
episodes in this season.
I know.
Sometimes there's
I
a bit
know.
more, sometimes 8
Is
or
it?
9. Yeah, they used to do more than the standard 6.
And it's just, obviously, I was feeling a bit heartbroken going into it. Obviously, a little bit skeptical as well, because it's been a while since I've seen Peep Show, and you don't really want them to go out on a bum note. Like, you want it to be a really good season. So far, it has just been so funny. It's been some of my favorite episodes so far, especially the one that aired last night.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that yet.
I've heard I thought the first two were alright.
I thought the first one was really, really
Yeah.
funny. The second one was like a little bit of a dip, but the
I love
third
the
one,
second one.
the third one is like they're doing something really great, which is kind of very discreetly reintroducing some characters that you've seen like throughout the season. So like
Yeah.
Super Hands was back, like Dobby's back, a lot of the mains. It doesn't feel forced at all. And in the latest one, we're introduced to another character from the past, and it works so seamlessly. And it's one of these situations that they find themselves in where something goes wrong, and
Yeah.
that just sparks off a chain of events that just snowballs into this like catastrophic, socially awkward, like horribleness. And it's just so funny.
See, for me, the first
Hilarious.
episode, I felt like the first like 10 minutes before the sort of ad break was just like, right, this is what
We need to get back. We need to get back where we were.
And I thought that I didn't think the first episode was particularly good, except for Superhand stuff.
I
But
thought
then
that was great.
the second episode, I just thought was brilliant. Like Superhand's Superhand's wedding, like when he's doing his vows and stuff. I was dead. I'd watched it so many
Yeah.
times. It was
What about
so good.
in the first episode where they bag Jerry and
That's good. That's a good ending.
and they waterboard him for a
Like,
beer. His face.
Mark completely instigating it, but acting like he's not a part of it whatsoever.
He's like, gotta make it look like I'm opposed.
Oh,
He's like,
amazing.
That's,
Bag him.
Yeah. that's like perfect, like Mark, that isn't it? Going, I have to be the responsible one, but I also
secretly,
I'm the worst. Yeah.
yeah.
He is secretly the worst.
Some of his thoughts, are just so
Because
dark
I know,
and horrible.
I'm interested in what you think about this. Like, I still always think of Mark as the dominant voice in that show. Because, like,
100%, yeah.
Even though you get a lot of Jez's interior monologue too, like, Mark is the anchor, especially in the early season. You go back and rewatch it. A lot of those early series are like Mark at work and then obviously his relationship. But he's absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
Like, Jez, he's like an animal. He is what he is. He's
There's
a
bit
creature of
innocence.
impulse.
There's innocence to him though. Like he's just a bit of an idiot. You know, it's nothing
And
malicious.
what he
but-
is all up front. Mark
Yeah.
is
Have you
twist in
ever?
that.
Have you ever been on Robert Webb's? Is it Robert Webb? Is that his name? Yeah. It is,
Yeah.
Jez. Yeah.
Have you ever seen him on Twitter?
No.
He's an utter dick splash.
Oh
Why?
no! Don't tell
He's
me
like
that.
a really sort of posh, like Tory wanker. Like some of the arguments that you see him getting in, especially around sort of like election times, he's a massive jab. So yeah, if you're sad that Peep Show's ending, just look at his Twitter, mate.
Don't want to ruin it. Don't want to ruin the
But
magic.
yeah,
Favorite moment in Peep Show. Like, we've never really talked about Peep Show much in the show.
Okay.
Like,
I've got
also,
two.
like,
I've got two
Okay,
favorites.
also, we should say, like, I know a lot of people who listen to the show live in America, and while I think a lot of other shows are kind of like my American friends do know about, they know about In Between Us. Peep Show's one of those that I haven't discussed with them much, so I don't know how aware they are of it. But if
think
you
they
can like
did-
find it or hunt it down, definitely do it.
It's so
Who was the
fantastic.
cat? Do you remember who they cast in the American one?
Oh no!
There's an American Peep Show?
Well, it's like all those like try to do a.
You tell us your moment.
your
and I'll-
favourite?
So,
I'll find
favorite
that.
two moments in Peep Show. First off is the climax of the episode where Mark is getting married, where he eventually he just
Oh, that's horrible,
He,
that is,
he
yeah.
has a panic attack and decides to hide up in the
rafters
in the
of the-
rafters of the church essentially, and then
When he's pissing himself.
pisses-
Jeremy
So it
Jeremy
starts-
has to go to the bathroom and he starts to urinate and can't stop, and then it starts going through the cracks in the walls.
I
And
love early in that episode when they're on the way to the wedding and Mark considers walking in front of that van.
yeah,
Like to like commit suicide, and the van's not even going that fast. He steps out and the guy stops. He goes, "Dick."
you piss kidney.
I
and
think.
then
Cool.
my-
I haven't found this. I'll keep
My
going.
second favorite moment is it is when Mark and Jeremy are on Mark's stag right before the wedding actually, and in the process of the events they accidentally kill a dog.
Well, this is quite a controversial moment in Peep Show.
Yeah.
Like some people feel that's a jump in the shark moment.
Really?
Like it's too ridiculous.
It is pretty rubbish.
I was in tears laughing.
So they cook a girl's
They,
dog.
they accidentally kill the dog, and they're basically in very close quarters the whole time with the people who own it, so they don't really know what to do with it. And at one point, Jeremy tries to burn it to try and get rid of it, but then it doesn't burn. So then they try to bury it, and it's just like this whole
but
nightmare.
and then they think it's barbecue.
Well, that's it. Yeah. So they have to put it in a bag, but then they run into the people who own the dog, and then they're asking about what's in the bag, and they have to try and convince them that it's barbecue chicken and not dog.
No.
It's
I like
the people they cast in the American one, I don't know who they are.
All right.
There's just rubbish, yeah. I think like Superhan's is my favorite character, but my favorite moment is it's quite early on, and I think I love it because it just changed the way that me and my friends talk to each other. Is when Mark is walking past some kids. It might even be the first episode.
That is the first episode of
and they
this.
say, "Fuck off, clean shirt." And I just think, as an insult, that is brilliant.
I saw the briefcase wanker.
Yeah.
My favourite is all the kind of stuff with Johnson.
Johnson's amazing.
Johnson is
It's
so
like the
good.
early stuff, when it was more focused on Mark's job,
Yeah.
and how much he wanted to get ahead at work and impress Johnson. And I love the episode because it's just so crap when he comes up with this like scheme to like integrate marketing and sales.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like what
Project Zeus.
Project
Project
Zeus.
Zeus.
Mark. Marketing and sales will always be separate. Does it have to be that way? Well, now that you say it, it maybe doesn't. And I also like the one where Mark writes Business Secrets of the Pharaohs, and he gets it published by British London.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes,
That's
Mark, I don't think British London sounds like a real company. Oh, it is. It is. And he meets him at like that little motorway sandwich station.
Just feels so bad for him.
Project Zeus, I love the episode when like they're all around Mark's flat, and then Johnson comes around to see how they're doing, and I think he says like, "What are you guys doing?" He's like saying that they basically have sex with each other. It's like, watch a chicken fuck a duck or something like that. He's like, you think the guys who invented Google sat around watching Trumpton?
I love it when Mark's like talking to them and he's like, I just want it to be like a free flow of ideas. So, go mental and then go sane again and check and recheck. It's like, just sums him up so perfectly.
It's not really a moment. I just love the fact there's a baby called Ian.
Yeah.
That baby Ian.
No, this is my favorite thing. My girlfriend said this line to me the other day. I thought it was really good. It was at Superhands' wedding with the twins, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got some kids. I've got a couple of kids. They're how old are they?"
No. It's at the picnic. He goes, "Oh, they're twins. Always talking about the twins. I love the bloody twins.
Yeah.
How old are they? It's Vi and Vump. What's German for five? Vump.
Yeah, they're a couple of fumps.
They were fumps 5 years ago.
But you've got kids, yeah. Twins. Twins.
And then he goes to check on his phone,
yeah, for a
and he's like,
picture.
"Oh," I was like, "I
where
can't
is it?
find the twins. I'll never forgive Orange if they've wiped the twins." So good.
Amazing.
I love that show. And yeah, the season's great. So definitely check it out if you're a Peep Show fan.
Okay.
That was a good.
Apparently, there's a really good Indiana Jones moment in the latest episode.
It's the highlight.
little
It's the
friends.
absolute highlight.
I'm gonna watch that. So let's move on to not so good then. I feel like I don't want to do it now.
We're not doing out and out bad this week.
No.
But there's stuff with a bit more mixed opinions on.
Yeah.
I think.
So the first thing is Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Everyone seemed to have lost their mind for it.
I saw it
And-
getting a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Like people saying it's the best show of the year.
Well,
and all
I
this
think
stuff.
for what I think people forget actual whether or not it's good with what it's actually doing is good. So there's like I saw a really good article which was like the first like the number of firsts in Jessica Jones and stuff like that. Like
Lots of women having conversations that don't revolve around men.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really good, and like sort of the racial diversity is really good in there. Like sexual diversity is really good in there. I just think it's a bit shit. I just think it's a bit boring.
I think there are good episodes. I think there's good moments. Like I think it suffers overall from pacing problems.
Yeah.
And structural problems.
People say
it
that
would
about Daredevil as
and
well.
it would benefit from having some standalone procedural episodes of
Yeah.
her solving one-off crimes. And obviously the extreme other end of that is having a show which is completely composed of that.
Yeah.
I think it's admirable to have this like ambitious 13-episode arc.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like there's enough in it to sustain it.
100%.
So
yeah.
it'll be like some of the episodes, some of the things that happen later on, definitely feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes. And I think you get overexposed to Kilgrave, even though I like the character, I like the powers,
Yeah.
create an amazing sense of paranoia. You spend a lot of time with that villain, like just on his own with his people.
Oh,
You know, like
really?
Inspector, you almost never spend time with Christoph Waltz's character. It's all through Bond's perspective.
Yeah.
In this, you spend loads of time with Kilgrave, with his people. So by the end, you're just like overexposed to him. So he loses like his edge.
See, I've stopped at episode 6 or 7 where.
That's a shame because I think you're going to miss the false ending, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, well, now I kind of want to go back to it because that's the thing. Because I was thinking Kilgrave is really, really good, and I like. Not only do I just like Kilgrave, but I also like just his effect on the world as well. So one of the last episodes I watched, where they'd put together all these people who'd like Kilgrave like had affected his lives, affected their lives, and I kind of just like seeing that. Like that's the mark of a real bad guy.
Yeah.
Like where you can just see he's really he's stuck around with these people.
Yeah, and I feel like
and that's way worse than
and
just
that's
blowing up their
that's
house.
the dominant theme of the show. I think is
Yeah.
like trauma. Trauma will never go away. Like trauma is the pain from an old wound, and it's not going to heal. You're going to have to learn to live with this pain, and she can't. She's living with that pain in an unhealthy way. She's fixated on it. It dominates her life. But we don't have any episodes of her like in the almost episode 1. He's straight back into her life.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been better like introduce him. Like episode 5, Daredevil holds its nerve. Doesn't show you Kingpin until end of episode 4.
Right.
This is Purple Man is straight in episode 1.
Yeah.
And it's like you would.
I have to say though, like I feel the same way about Daredevil, like having like this prolonged thing, and I felt like a lot. It was quite samey as well, but and I really felt like by the end of episode 4, I was like, I better see this motherfucking Kingpin soon.
Well, Daredevil's a bit different because, like, I do agree, like, Daredevil's a similar kind of thing where you did spend a lot of time with the Kingpin, like, by the end of the show. Like, there were whole episodes that were, like, pretty much just about him.
But there's a good flashback episode where I feel
That's
like you
it.
get to know
It's
that
like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
for a
right,
purpose. It's character development. You learn more about him and, like, the reasons he's doing things. Like, does that same thing happen with Kilgrave? Or is it just a bit, do you stay a bit too long?
But Kilgrave kind of pulls the Joker card in the sense that he's a man of multiple origins,
Right,
and
okay.
he manufactures lies about his past to an extent. So even
Also,
yeah,
That's
you
hard.
get to a
Yes,
sense
yeah.
of truth,
Yeah.
but you don't get a sense of identification like you do with Kingpin. In Daredevil, even though there were not Monster of the Week episodes,
Yeah.
because the Kingpin had so many agents. You could kind of get like, and there were different like factions at war that the Kingpin
Yeah.
ultimately flattened. They were kind of like Daredevil taking on the Russians, Daredevil taking on Madame Gao.
yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
this is just relentlessly Kilgrave.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really hard to do that because with Kingpin, I think you come out of that series going, obviously he's the bad guy, but sometimes you're just like, I can kind of empathize with what he's trying to do. He's doing
And
it. He's doing it in a
that's what they
terrible
wanted.
way.
They were very open. That's what
Yeah.
they
That
wanted
was the
to do with
purpose
that
of those
show.
episodes
we
and
want
the
this.
backstory,
This is
yeah.
a twinned origin story,
That's hard to do with
and
a
these
character.
both guys want the same thing.
That's hard to do with Kilgrave because
Yeah.
we've seen him do some really,
I mean,
really terrible
you
stuff.
want
And
me
then
to
if you were
just-
like, introduce this like sort of sympathetic element.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing with that.
Yeah,
Man.
so
that's hard.
Not a massive spoiler, but just talk about this a little bit. I think there's something really interesting in that most superhero stuff. Classic template is set up your hero, set up your villain. There'll be a part for the majority of the movie. Occasionally, they'll intersect during the narrative.
Yeah.
And then they'll majorly interact at the end in a big fight.
Yeah.
With Jessica Jones, hero and villain are terms that are a bit deficient.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be hero. He does villainous things. He does bad things.
Yeah.
He's not a villain in the classic mold. They had an abusive relationship, and the show is not afraid to give them lots of screen time in
Yeah.
close proximity together. Like, there's whole episodes of them just being together, kind of working out their relationship and their problems.
That's quite
So that's really interesting stuff.
Does that diminish the impact, though, at the end? Like, the finale? It's not like a big...
I think it struggles with it. Like, I'm not going to go into it. I think
Yeah.
it struggles to work its way out of that place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think at the end it feels like we need a set piece and we need
Yeah.
something, and it has some decent solutions to that, but ultimately has to resolve.
I think I'm kind of just done with like the reluctant hero, like or the sort of like anti-hero type thing, and I just like feel like I've seen it all before. And even though we're seeing like new characters doing it and stuff like that, like I don't know. I feel like I'm just fed up with that, and I kind of want. I don't know what I want, but
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
Reluctant hero and anti-hero are two different things.
Yeah.
But it just she's both of those though.
Well,
Like,
she's on anti-hero, is she? Unless she, it's like she's
the
brainwashed.
no, but she's like the anti-hero, like typical anti-hero, just like, she like drinks a lot, she's like foul-mouthed and stuff like that. Like, that's like typical, basically Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, she's Stone Cold Steve Austin in Marvel form. And I just kind of like, I don't know, and I also, the same thing again, and I always say about Marvel stuff, like, just over, like, smugness of the universe. Like,
I don't get this point. Smugness.
I just feel like they're really like quick-witted and stuff, and the way they talk, I just think this is not how people talk. I know we're living in the, it's got to be entertaining. It's got to be like thing like
that. I think you could level that a lot of.
You could level it a lot
yeah,
of stuff.
like, I don't think it's a particular like all of Aaron Sorkin's TV work.
Yeah.
Like I don't think.
But then I think with that, I think that's on a different level because I just think it's like really smart. Whereas this I would like almost liken to like teen horror movies. Like that's the thing that I hate about all those like a lot of those like remakes, like the bad remakes when they started doing those in like 2003, 2004, when they started remaking quite a lot of like the slasher films. The way that people talked in those, I was just like, I don't know who these people are. But this is not how anybody
I didn't
talks.
find Daredevil smug. I feel
No, I
like Matt
thought-
Murdock's pretty earnest kind of
No,
dude.
but I think that's fair enough.
I mean,
There were
he's
never
pretty
any like
sincere.
quips or anything. Yeah, it was all quite
like that's
dishonest.
not a problem
I
I
think
have
there's
with
more
that.
downbeat tone to that. Like,
Well, yeah, it was very,
I think
very dark and.
like Jessica Jones is very dark, but like she has got this kind of embittered view,
Yeah.
rightly so, on the world. And
Yeah.
I guess that also her stuff is also tapping into the tradition of like crime thrillers and film noir and hard-boiled detective novels and shit like that.
Yeah, do you know what
I guess some of those things are bleeding over as well.
Yeah, but there was a scene the other day when like she walked into a shop and she was like, "Give me a bourbon, the cheapest one." And I was like, I don't know.
But
I
that-
kinda-
You've never
kinda-
said
that's
that in
kinda
real
grown.
life.
I kind of like
But
groaned
for
about it. I
what
was just
though?
like,
Because it's like
because I feel like I've heard that line like a million times before in like like you say like detective noir thrillers and stuff like
it's
that.
a fine line between like partaking in a tradition
Yeah.
and paying lip service to it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's really hard. I think that is. I think I think also what helps with that, if the thing it is that you just generally like more,
Yeah.
you go, it's enacting a tradition.
yeah,
and that's
a
the
good
thing.
point.
And
Yeah,
then if it stumbles, you go, groan fest.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately that probably swings
Yeah,
it one
I
way or
think
the
that's a good
other.
point,
Well, it does
yeah.
for me anyway. I know
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
I feel. Like if something's overall successful,
Yeah.
I'll give you those things.
Yeah, like those
Yeah.
little moments.
No. Yeah, I can see that. That's a good point.
And but you could also look at it at the other end of the telescopes because those things are actually good.
Yeah.
It makes the whole better. So yeah, it's
Well, I guess it's like what we're talking about, like Spectre as well. Like, I think people like that kind of lip service and stuff like that. So if you were really into like noir detective stuff, you probably really like this because you see all these elements that you sort of appreciate from other ones. You go, oh, yeah,
mixed
that
with
bit, do you know what I mean?
It's got a big genre mashup in a way.
Yeah.
I think it's a good show, and I think a lot of the psychological stuff is really good. I think
If it was 10 episodes, you think?
it would have been a great 8 episodes.
How many episodes is it?
I don't know if you're going to keep on watching.
I am
it.
definitely going to watch it now.
There's a really cool natural endpoint to that show.
Okay.
And that could have come at the end of episode 13 if maybe in the first half of the series you studied like standalone episodes.
Yeah. You guys have talked about it, like you've done like a proper spoiler cast of it for superhero shows.
Yeah,
right?
so that's going up this Saturday. So
Yeah.
tomorrow, if you're listening to the podcast on Friday.
Yeah. Right, and we also saw Goosebumps, which is also alright.
Yeah, Jack Black movie where he plays R.L. Stein.
I was really looking forward to this.
Why?
Because I loved the Goosebumps books growing up. I really liked the TV show.
I never watched the TV show.
Oh, it was so
It's
good.
man. It was
So
like,
wait, you never
I read
saw
the
the
books.
trailer where the dog barked the Goosebumps theme? That was amazing. When it went over and the Goosebumps logo was in the sky and the dog had green eyes, he went ruff 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 ruff.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. You're making me feel it. Yeah, it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
so good.
What was your favourite Goosebumps book?
The Haunted Mask was really good. Monster Blood, I really
I
liked.
was telling Gav I like Say Cheese and Die.
Oh yeah, that was a good
It was
cover.
a great one. Yeah, the cover
Beast
with
from the East.
Oh, I remember Beast from the
yeah,
East. It's a lot of good ones. Gav said the main problem with it was that there weren't enough characters from the books. Like, it
Yeah,
felt a
I didn't
bit-
think
a bit
so. I think
hollow.
that was my main
like, I
thing
don't
with it.
know the books incredibly well. I
Okay.
guess like if you're a super fan, like there's a lot. I guess there would be like loads of sight gags. I would think.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff in
I
the
guess.
background and stuff like that. But I think my main problem with it is basically like if you are going to go see the film, I won't spoil too much. But the idea is that R.L. Stein is a real guy, and he wrote all these books, and all the Goosebumps books actually exist, and all the monsters and stuff are real as well. But
Yeah.
they're kept within these
Keeps them
books. and
imprisoned
keeps
in
them
the
locked.
manuscripts. Yeah.
Cool concept.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
But the idea is then that one of them breaks out and releases the rest of them.
Yeah, it's like a Jumanji style. Like
yeah.
everything's unleashed and it goes like crazy in this
Yeah.
town
So-
overnight.
But there's a couple
It's a
of
cool
problems.
premise.
Yeah, there's a couple of problems I
Fun
have with
premise.
it, and one of them is like, so basically, you get introduced to these guys through a new character who moves next door to R.L. Stein and his daughter, and there's a scene where they accidentally release the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena by unlocking it. They literally there's one key that unlocks all the locks, and they do that. But then they go get the snowman, put him back in. Then there's just a scene where one book just opens, and then that's where the trouble starts, because he's in the trailer, but like Slappy, the dummy, this like quite famous Goosebump one, breaks out, and he's the one that starts.
He's like the ringmaster, isn't he?
But like,
but
it doesn't
there's
make
no
any
logic.
sense. There's no
Why
logic.
is this one book
opening by itself?
And if it could do that, if that's Slappy doing that, it's just this
Just do it
weird
anytime.
logic hole.
But it
I
really
just
annoyed
assume
me.
the target audience for that film probably won't question
No,
it.
because
that's
they do such a big job of setting up.
But
This key opens the lock.
But I still don't
this
think
is
that.
the only way it can come out.
But that's still no excuse.
That doesn't make sense.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
That's the thing. It's like, but because you can contrive a way.
Yeah.
Where that could happen.
Yeah.
Just make the first book Slappy, or I don't know. There's other ways of doing it, I think.
Yeah, but also as well, like it is kind of like Jumanji in the kind of way that you see all these different things going on, these different sort of elements of his books and things like that. But every single one of his books that ever existed gets opened, right? You maybe spend time with about 5 things, like 5 monsters, and like the rest are kind of in the background. Then there's a big army of them at one point, but I kind of felt like we didn't get to see enough of them. Like, there's even like a scene where Slappy's releasing the monsters.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like driving and chucking the books out like a paperboy. So, but you don't see like the reveal of
What could be in
he's
that
just
house,
chucked out that and stuff like that. You just literally see him chuck a book into a house.
It
Lights come
almost-
out and then people start screaming.
It would almost work really well as like a portmanteau horror movie where like you would get like 6 small little 15-minute films, or even smaller than that, 10 minutes, where the framing narrative is R.L. Stein in his office, and Slappy going on this rampage, and then there's a movie that came out this year called Tales of Halloween, and that's really ambitious. That's like something ridiculous, like 12 short movies, and they're really short, and they're all linked by being on Halloween night in this one town.
Right, okay.
You could do that with the Goosebumps, where it's just like
well,
a
absolutely,
scene
because
in
that's
each
like-
house with a different monster.
That's a perfect adaptation of the books. They're just like small short stories.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably harder to sell, like
I
individual
think it is,
stories
but
rather
I don't
than
think
like
you-
one.
Yeah, that's the thing. That would be a cool idea. I don't think you need to like compartmentalize like that, but like compartmentalize it like that. But I think the ones that they chose to do are really similar as well. So you've got the gnomes, like I think it's like Revenge of the Gnomes or something like that. It's called.
I remember the gnomes.
And you've also got Slappy the Dummy. Those are very similar ones. Then you've got like there's a bunch of other ones as well, but there's only a couple of actual ones that you get to see, and I kind of think I don't know. I would have liked. Actual, more than you actually have to deal with a scene, 10, 15 minutes sort of thing. There's only like 3 or 4 maybe, I think. And considering they've unleashed every single one of his books,
I think that's the
I was
thing
kinda
as
let
well,
down by
because
that.
once it's all unleashed, it's not that scary.
No.
It's not that spooky about it. It's just actually a load of CGI stuff chasing you about, and they could be elephants. That's the thing with Jumanji. It's like in my head, it doesn't feel distinctly scary. Like maybe the one scene with the gnomes, because that's focused on one creature, and it kind of explores how menacing that is.
I thought you meant Jumanji.
That's why
and I
it
was
would have
like,
been.
that was terrifying.
Yeah, but then if you had like, for instance, if you did one book opening at a time rather than all of them simultaneously, it would be cool, because you say you're in the gym and then you could do a terrifying setup for X monster. I think that'd be cooler.
I think
Because you lose their specificity when they're all like just going crazy as a horde.
So I think rather than them having to open up all the books get opened up, they have to deal with that. I think the setup should have been there's a reason they have to open up certain books or something like that. I think that would have been better.
My stuff is lost in them.
Yeah.
Or they go through it like, all right, what's the next book that we have to track down? So they move on to like the next, and then he's
They're in
somewhere else
different
doing
areas of the
something.
town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought
that'd be
like
quite
I
cool.
always rewriting the films.
I thought it was good. I thought Jack Black is really good in it, and I thought the
some
kid
good lines,
the kids
some
are
good
brilliant.
moments.
But yeah, it was kind of a bit disappointing in the end. But yeah, there we go. Question.
Right, so I got the first piece of feedback. This is from Thomas.
Okay.
Thomas, through a sequence of lucky breaks, I'm covering an international film festival in Singapore. Very
What?
nice.
Thomas.
One problem I have faced, though, is I know next to nothing about the films I'm talking to the directors about. To the point where I sat down to interview someone for one film, then found out it was a completely different one. Have you guys had any similar experiences and any words of advice for dealing with this situation?
Yeah, do your research, mate. Like when you get.
I think he's been just put into
Oh, right, okay.
interview situations blind. I don't know.
Oh,
I think
right,
we could
okay,
have
right.
more information here.
You're,
but
saying,
anyway.
you're saying he has been put in blind. He hasn't just not bothered to do his research.
No,
So
I
was
don't
about to
think
say,
so.
if you're given a good opportunity, make the most of it, you dick. But if that's not, maybe that's not what's happening.
Ambiguous questions.
If you want
that's the
to
secret.
write in and get more friendly life advice from Gav, the email
Tough
is
love, baby.
IGN_UKFeedback@IGN.com. But no, but seriously, basically interview advice, or have you had an awkward interview? I think what Thomas is getting at.
I think I've had to be at not film festival. I've had to interview a lot of people, but I was my very first E3. Basically, I was just at that point. I was just a camera person. Like I didn't really do interviews or anything like that because I was like, it was my first 6 months in the job, and I was waiting for an editor to meet me for an interview. Like I was filming the interview, he was doing the interview, and like I hadn't seen the game, I hadn't seen like the presentation or played it, and it was a 40-minute interview for a cover feature, and he just didn't turn up. And it was the only time we were going to get this. And I was just like, okay. So he didn't turn up. He texted me going, oh, can you do the interview? Sorry. I was like, can you send me any questions? And he just didn't.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
So what I did was I wrote down some of the most outlandish things that I could think of. Just really, really strange questions. And I said to him, oh, hey, man, sorry if these questions are a bit weird, but they were sent to me by my editor. These are the ones he asked me to ask. So if they seem a bit strange, that's why. That's a really good tactic as well. If you've ever got any like really awkward questions,
Just
or if you really
play dumb.
Yeah, or if you want to ask some really awkward questions, but you don't want to have the blame for it, say, hey man, I'm really sorry. These are the questions my editor sent me, and there they are. That was awful.
I think there's obviously prep.
Yeah.
But the most important thing about interviews, and this is slightly off topic, how to deal with problem situations, but loads of people, I've seen loads of people do it as well.
Yeah.
Interview, and you're just looking at your next question rather than listening to the person who's speaking
don't
to
do
you,
that.
because they might say something amazing that you would want to follow up on.
Yeah.
And then you won't, because you just ask your next question. And then when you sit down to transcribe it or watch it back, you go, I literally could have asked this most amazing question, and you'll kick yourself forever.
Yeah.
Do that.
A really good tactic that I've got is if it's a one-on-one interview and you've got a particular amount of time, is a lot of people feel uncomfortable about doing this. I don't.
Sit on them.
Just don't know to sit on them. But
Quick hug.
when they answer a question, don't just take the answer. Don't jump in straight away.
No, silence.
Give a bit of silence.
Silence is very powerful
Yeah.
for an interviewer.
Because a lot of the time, people who you're interviewing are probably just as nervous to be interviewed. So if you're silent, they'll fill that silence because they feel awkward and they might say something really good. I've got some really good stuff out of people just by saying shit all. Which you wouldn't believe I
Awkward
can actually do.
situations. I once attended an event for the movie Need for Speed, and I was meant to be interviewing, playing Need for Speed with Aaron, Paul, and Dominic Cooper.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then they had the director there, and the director, I wasn't meant to interview him. I didn't prep for the director. I didn't really want to interview the director of the Need for Speed movie. And he was like, basically they brought him in and they sat him next to me and we started filming this interview and I didn't prep. So I was asking, fairly generic questions.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this video game movie, standard question. Not been a lot of great video game movies, have there? And he was like, well, I directed the Tomb Raider movie. Oh. And I was like, and I'm quite a polite person. I always go, and your pointers?
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but it's like, well,
Yeah, it was crap.
to my question.
Yeah, I
quite
got sent to interview Jason Statham. I was told before going into the interview that this is when I worked for a website called CVG, which is just video games. It was nothing to do with movies at all. So if we just put up an interview about Hummingbird, which was the Statham film at the time, people would have thought it was really strange if it was just like a junket interview. And you should always try and do something interesting at those things anyway, because just asking someone what was it like to work on this film, like no one cares about that. Like do something interesting all the time. So I was told that I had 8 minutes. I was told that Jason Statham loves video games, just like one of his favorite hobbies. And I was also told that for the feature that I wanted to do, there was 2 cameras. So there was going to be like a back and forth. So I would have a mic on me and I would have a camera on me and he would have a mic on him and a camera on him, obviously. And for this feature that I had planned, that's what it was. I got in there. I had 4 minutes. There was 1 camera, no mic on me. And Jason Statham barely ever played a video game in his life. And I was just like,
Doing purse though.
But the woman told me. The woman literally was just like, I walked in and I was just like, she was like, oh yeah, thing is, and then gave me all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I don't mean to be rude, and at the time I really wanted to work with films and stuff like that, so I was like saying yes to a lot of stuff, but on the basis of video game stuff, and I was like, I really don't mean to be rude, but we probably wouldn't have said yes to this, and she was like, oh, it is Jason Statham though, isn't it? I was like, yeah, but like. I don't know what to do with it, but what I did do was I filmed my own questions, like the reverse of it, in a different place. But there's no way of doing that and it look authentic, so I made a joke out of it, and the people went fucking ballistic.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. So next,
Was it like a fish tank behind you? It's like cut back to him.
Well, he had a poster of the hummingbird behind him, and I got my friend to draw me a poster, which was just
That's
awful.
pretty
It was
good.
really bad.
I had a really awkward interview. Well, it wasn't too awkward. I was just really scared. It was with the head coach of Fnatic, the European League of Legends team.
Really?
Yeah, we went there. Terrifying man. Terrifying. He's very small, but he's bald.
small people scary?
But he's bald, and he had a huge beard. And they just won, so I was like, he'll be in a good mood. And he was so grumpy, and he never blinked, and he just like made
You're
eye
like the
contact
least
the
grumpy
whole
person
time.
I've ever met.
Me?
As well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine the conflict between us.
Oh.
I tried to change him, it didn't work.
This is a fun question from Josh Gallimore, or starts off fun anyway.
Hi, Josh.
He says, is it me or has 2015 been the worst year for big comedy films in years? Maybe the worst ever. Burnt, Spy, which like I generally thought, except for Jason Statham, Spy was borderline unwatchable. Hot Tub Time Machine 2, I haven't seen that. Ted 2, that was pretty bad. Pixels was pretty bad. Trainwreck, I almost walked out of.
I mean, you named a lot of bad films.
Yeah, but I mean, those are the top comedies of 2015.
No.
One of the ones
Burn
that's
a
not...
comedy? Is it like
I
drama?
have no idea. But he's put in this. Apparently, it was on a quick search of the top comedies 2015. One that's not on there, and I actually think is pretty funny, is Kingsman.
That's why
I
it's
was
not
just
on there.
thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not overtly a comedy, but it's like really good.
Kingsman was great.
Yeah,
Although,
very
was
fun,
that this
very
year?
funny,
I swear I saw that last year.
I think it's January. I think we just about make it.
Close
Yeah,
call.
it
It was
was.
still running.
But yeah, that was
No,
pretty
I
good.
totally agree. It's been a very, very
Wait,
unfunny
shut up.
year.
What, Mordecai?
Oh yeah, was that this year?
Yeah, Mordecai.
No.
Yeah, Pitch
Anything else?
Perfect 2.
Didn't see it.
Paul Blart Mall Cop. Come on, guys. Like,
Has there been? Oh, well, one I'm actually looking forward to
Inside Out is funny. Maybe you don't think of it as straight up comedy.
is the Seth Rogen film. I'm looking forward to that. The Christmas film.
That actually looks
who's
good.
got-
I
Yeah.
think it might be quite good. But yeah, no, it's been a pretty rubbish year for comedies.
Yeah, it really has.
Here we are.
That sucks. This is from Rob. It's either from Rob G. William or Rob Dwilliam.
Rob Gwillem.
Gwillem. All right. Neither. Awesome. He says, hi guys, I'd like to get your thoughts about Battlefield in a couple of years. With no single player story. Damn it. I would like to get your thoughts about Battlefront in a couple of years. With no single player story, will there still be enough gamers playing it in a couple of years?
Yes.
When people may be upgrading to Xbox Ones, will they come down in price to make it viable? I mean,
I feel like Battlefront's been held to a different standard to a lot of other games.
No, I know. That's exactly what it says.
I think Battlefront's... Do you not think this?
What?
I think Battlefront's been held to a weird standard.
Do you know what I think it is?
I think there's a lot of people who like don't buy shooters, not interested in shooters, buying it because it's Star Wars, and then going, oh, it's not really...
I think like,
there are very few games that will sustain you for years, especially FPSs.
Yeah.
The FPSs do not have a
No.
long shelf life because they have just constant reiterations
Yeah.
of the title.
I think you're right. I think shooters in like general, I think get a lot of shit. Because they're the most popular thing, and the most popular thing is always going to get a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I also feel like really, genuinely, and this is maybe the fault of like marketing and stuff, but maybe the fault of just people being moany bastards in general. But I feel like before Star Wars has come out, there's a huge shift, I feel, in people being quite negative about it, and maybe people are just sick of the marketing and stuff like that, and they see like Battlefront as just another big part of that.
I think... I don't know whether I'm attuned to it. I've seen lots of people, particularly in the last couple... I think a lot of moaning about Battlefront. And maybe it's because people have bought it and it's not their type of game and they just really want it to be.
Yeah.
Because it's the big budget, nicest looking, new, shiny Star Wars game. And it's literally based on a type of gameplay and modes that it's actually just not for you. There's a huge install base, a huge base of people who would love this.
Yeah.
and I'm sorry you're not quite into it.
Yeah.
But you know what? There'll be a single player Star Wars game that's going to be like Uncharted coming out soon.
Yeah. I kind of feel as well like there are times when like I'll play it for like 3 hours and I'll go, oh, like I'm kind of gutted that there's no single player because I'm just tired of getting my ass kicked. But at the same time, then I go, oh, this is where I play a single player part of it. But then I just go, oh well, but then also
I would never play the multiplayer.
but I played this for 3 hours.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it,
but
so.
you know, if there's a single player, I bet I wouldn't play the multiplayer. Like,
Yeah,
that
that's true.
much. Like, and I've had a really good time doing that.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the podcast last week about if there was a single player, what would that kind of entail? And I was very much in the mindset that it probably would be a bit of like pre-rendered cinematics that would lead to a battle that would feel pretty much like multiplayer, like
Yeah,
you'd just be put into a big
Assault,
battlefield.
like,
Yeah, pretty much. You know, something similar. Stop someone from doing something, a
Yeah.
bit more dialogue, and then stop this from or reach this point. Like I don't think single player really adds or takes away anything from the shelf life of games.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Final question.
Final one. Important
do it.
one. From Harry Green.
Hey Harry.
Has Rory ever
Oh, no.
actually been to a pub? What is this in relation to? Because I wasn't on the podcast.
I don't know. What does that even mean? Oh, no, I do know.
I was gonna say
great
great ending to the podcast.
No, this was it was someone emailed in the other week and they were telling us to think of video game names for a pub.
Right.
So like the Duck and Dog was a good one for like duck
yeah,
hunters, you
yeah,
know,
that's
like these kind of like pub names.
Yeah.
And I got a bit off the rails with it and just started trying to think of like drinking puns with video games.
The Ship
and
and
then
Chief.
I'd call. But this is the problem because then Luke and Alex were just doing the this and the this, and it was just really they were just saying one
That's what
thing from
pub
the game.
names
Another.
are.
No, they're not. Like my idea was Destiny. It's a gin bar. Like that's
Well, it's a
that's
bar.
pretty
It's a
cool.
bar. It's not a pub.
I don't mind that.
Destiny. No,
Oh, I mean-
that was one of the better ones though.
That was my best one.
There was World
Oh,
of-
right.
there
You're
was-
not building up to something. That's okay,
That's
yeah.
basically
There was also
and
World
that's a
of
week
Warcraft
thought.
beer.
That's a week of pure concentration expended on that.
But then pubs can be called anything though. Like when I first moved to London, my local pub was called the Red Lion and Pineapple. How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah,
Who's
my other
calling that?
suggestion was World of Warcraft beer, which you can't really call a pub that.
Oh, well, you can. I won't go to
War-
pub.
Barcraft.
Warcraft beer.
Barcraft. Warcraft beer.
beer.
See, it almost
Warcraft
worked.
beer.
Well, still.
That's what I was going to
Warcraft
say.
beer.
Yeah.
That's not even a fun anymore.
I insist you think of a better name. It is
Yeah,
not as easy because they had forethought as well, and I was very much on the spot. I like to do that. Not a lot
right,
of prep.
okay, yeah.
Just be a real person.
Yeah.
You know,
Rory
much
has-
like our first emailer. You know, no prep. Just dive right in.
Yeah.
Rory
Chaos.
has been to a pub, but he's too young to buy booze, so we have to buy it for him.
Ribena.
And then
Or
when,
he has to come in like the Muppet Man.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Thank you for those. If you want to send in an email, you can. It's IGN_UKfeedback@IGN.com. But thank you very much for listening or watching, whatever. And we'll be back next week.
Bye-bye.